Good morning, brothers and sisters in Uganda. I'm so grateful that you're taking fatherhood seriously, as it's such a critical issue in the world today. It's such an important role that is misunderstood and unappreciated and unsupported in the ways that really it needs to be. I'm so grateful to Ivan and to all of those who are working with him to kind of bring this about, to draw attention to fatherhood. When we started FatherCon in 2018, it was really recognizing that men are being lied to, and that each of us were being deceived about the important role that fathers play and how they shape children, and also the level of happiness and satisfaction that exists within families. That when fathers really understand how important they are and are appreciated for that role, when they're given the support, whether from their spouse or from society, the recognition that without the father's presence, there are very harmful consequences that befall our children and consequently befall our communities. We've seen the rise in vulnerability of children to human trafficking, to those who would wish to exploit them, turn them into a product, and sell them, basically, monetizing children, and changing our attitudes about the worth and value of a human being. That this child who is born with the potential to excel, to contribute to our human family in ways that are incalculable. We have no idea the potential that exists within each new human child that's born. But they have a unique place and a unique part to play in our human family. And yet human traffickers and those who would exploit the vulnerabilities and weaknesses of other human beings or children, they don't recognize that they have a unique value. They only see them in terms of their monetary worth to them, for them to be able to make money from them. So we've seen a rise in the number of children who are trafficked because they meet people online. We now live in a world where borders mean very little. You can contact people from Nigeria or from Russia or Cambodia. We can be in communication with people from all over the world, at a level that's never occurred before. And there are positive sides to that, and there are very dangerous ones. Our children are increasingly being exposed to things that are not helpful for their growth. The depression levels of children is rising rapidly. Suicide rates are rising. We are not evolving into happier, healthier human beings. We are devolving into people who are fractured and distant from each other. We're not coming closer together. In a large part, we're actually being broken up into small pieces instead of a cohesive family where we really see each other as brothers and sisters. To me, this is really vitally important. And when you have the fracturing of the family, when we have our current state today, we have over 100 million single mothers in the world. If we don't make effort to try to prevent single motherhood by educating, inspiring, and equipping men to become good partners, good husbands, and better fathers, we are going to face even more challenges, not just human trafficking, but the violence, the violent behavior, the anger at growing up without that stabilizing presence of a father, especially in boys, is now being felt through gang membership, through violence in classrooms, through dropping out of school, just engaging in distraction. I mean, like so many video games where we have young men who are absorbed in playing video games just to distract them from the difficulties of life, and their own anger and frustration at not being shown a healthy way to live by a father. We have to address these issues and in a way that actually provides support and education for young men who are deciding what to do with their lives. I recently had a meeting At FatherCon, we just had our fifth major conference at a university in Los Angeles. And at that conference, I had a conversation with a young pastor, and he said there were so many young women who want to get married, they want to start families, they want to have children, they want to become mothers, but they can't find men who are relatable to. Young men are not capable of really presenting themselves in an intelligent way, in a compassionate way, and this is causing a deficit in marriages. We now have in America, I believe it's 60%, over 60% of children are being born not to married parents. When parents don't get married, there's a much greater chance that they'll separate. In every marriage, as any of you who are married know, there are challenges. It's not all easy. It's not all a bed of roses. There are challenges that come in every relationship, in every marriage. And if you don't have the sanctity or the social commitment to each other, it's much easier for someone to walk away in that marriage. And although that's rising with women walking out of their marriages, and most divorces now are initiated by women, but it's men who, it's so easy for them to walk away, especially when there's children. And I mean, I really break this down. It's like we have created a sense of entitlement, and that's becoming the social norm, where we start to feel my life should be something that it's not. I deserve something more than I have, more than I've earned, more than I've been given. And that idea that I deserve more, and you see it everywhere. It's in advertising. Every commercial is telling you you deserve whiter teeth. You deserve faster internet. You deserve quieter children. You deserve this happy life. You deserve to have these vacations in beautiful, gorgeous places around the world. These are things you deserve because you're alive. But the more that we hear those messages, the more that we believe that our lives should be more than they are, the less grateful we feel for what we have. And a lot of times what we have are children who need us, are children who need to be nurtured, loved, educated, guided into becoming responsible human beings. So the more we feel entitled and we feel like we don't have what we're entitled to, the more angry we become, or the more we feel that we're a victim. We're a victim of a society that's not providing us what we deserve, what we're entitled to. And that causes a resentment. It causes the feeling of being a victim, which means we're being victimized. Someone is depriving me of what I deserve. And as long as there's that, as long as we believe that, as long as we hold on to that idea, then it justifies extremely bad behavior. We saw that a lot here in America, with the Black Lives Matter movement, where you saw destruction of public property. You saw, breaking into stores and stealing. And the rationale was we live in an environment that's racist. It's not treating us fairly. It's not treating us as we feel we deserve. And so we're justified in breaking into a Nike store and stealing tennis shoes. And people were saying that was perfectly justified, because if you feel unhappy, if you feel that your life is not what it should be, then it's okay to go and steal from other people. It's okay to assault other people that you feel are more privileged than you are. And this is a real problem in our thinking, in our attitude, which then turns into behavior. And everything, to me, hinges on human responsibility. I believe, if you look at the Bible story of Adam and Eve, it's an incredibly revealing story, in that whatever you believe, there's something in that story that's very deep about the difference of human beings and everything else that exists in nature. That we have the responsibility over our lives. We can make choices that are going to determine who we become, and what our world is going to become. We have the ability to develop weapons that can blow up the entire world, that can destroy everything that God created. We also have the ability to make choices in our lives that are going to determine the type of people we become. Um, we choose to look at pornography, and then that pornography becomes an addiction that ends up making it so I'm not satisfied with my wife, so I get divorced, so I leave my children without a father. We make certain choices that have real consequences for ourselves and others, and this is something that we really have to start to confront. Um, that everything good that can come about in this world is going to come based on human responsibility, that are taking responsibility for that co-creatorship that we share with God. We're different from trees and waterfalls and elephants and puppies. We're different in that we have a responsibility. We can educate ourselves and make choices. And those choices lead to what kind of person I become, whether I become a person who's happy in my life, satisfied, and that feeling that I am a significant human being who contributes to the world around me, or I'm dissatisfied, angry, violent, destructive, and harmful, and insensitive to my impact on others, where I stop caring that my children, if I walk out on my children are going to grow up with a hole in their hearts, and they're going to miss out on important guidance that only I can provide as their father. This all comes down to, are we raising ourselves to be trustworthy by taking responsibility for our lives, by taking responsibility for the choices we make, or not? Are we going to blame others for the situations that we find ourselves in? And granted, there are problems with government. There are problems with policies. There are problems with kind of the institutions around us that do impact our lives. But to become people who feel resentment and blame and justify our own bad behavior doesn't help anyone. And what we see is that more and more men, in failing to take responsibility to become trustworthy men who can trust themselves and can be trusted by their spouse, be trusted by their bosses, trusted by their children, by not taking responsibility to become such people, men are becoming less happy. They're becoming less satisfied with their lives. They feel that they have less meaning and purpose in their lives. And that's resulting in an increase in men taking their own lives and committing suicide. These are issues that can be resolved, that can be diminished, that can be impacted if we really come together as a human family, provide support where we can, whether that's training before young men get married, instead of just rushing into marriage, instead of just feeling that I want to have this wife because she makes me feel good, that she's pretty, instead of just seeing our relationships in a purely external way, we start to prepare ourselves. I mean, I believe we should start educating boys, early in life, that one day you're going to become a father. What kind of man do you need to be? What kind of father do you want to be? If you didn't have a good father, then learn from that how you can become a good father for children in the future. And then so as FatherCon, we want to start providing more and more training, more and more education, of the role that a father plays that's different from a mother. This is not a competition. It's not a competition between men and women. This is like a collaboration where we fill the gaps for each other. We each provide a unique picture. When each one of us is in a sense, we can become complete as a man and complete as a woman. But to become a couple is you're creating a greater whole that then produces children, and those children thrive in the influence and the guidance of a mother and a father. Mothers provide the soil that a child grows in. They provide the air that they breathe. And a father provides other things. A father provides the sense that you're worthy to be loved. The mother provides an environment of love and service and sacrifice and attendance. And the father gets down on his hands and knees and plays with his children in a way that assures them that they're worthy to be loved, that they can take risks in this world, that they actually can feel safe, and that they can become a person of strength and significance in the world. So this is really FatherCon's hope, is that we can, this is our work, is, how do we raise up future fathers? How do we help fathers who have made mistakes come back? Because our children need us for a lifetime. If you've separated, if you're now living apart from your wife, and not really feeling that it's important for you to see your children, it is. And it's important for you, if you're struggling with something, to find the tools, to find the support for you to overcome the things that are keeping you from being the man and the father that your children need you to be, that your community needs you to be. If you don't have your own biological children, there are so many children in our world who need someone who can be a responsible role model and father figure for them. So with FatherCon, we just had our fifth conference, as I said, and we had speakers that presented on so many topics that are important for fathers today. Things like the increase in fentanyl that's being spread around the world, that's resulting in so many deaths. Here in America, 100,000 people have died from fentanyl poisoning from a drug that's coming from China up through Mexico into the United States. And then it's being pushed through social media to children. So children think that they're getting one thing, and they're actually getting fentanyl and then dying. We had 2 parents who spoke at FatherCon whose children died of fentanyl poisoning. We had a woman who was trafficked by her father and then trafficked into the porn industry. So you got a very different look at what it's like to be a victim of the porn industry. So many men feel that this is a victimless crime, and you're just looking at something, you're just watching and not realizing that someone is really being harmed and injured in the production of that pornography. You're participating in her injury, in her hurt, her suffering, by enjoying her victimization in pornography. We had many talks on kind of faith, the importance of faith in fatherhood. We had talks on how to deal with the things that distract us, that pull us away from our families. We had talks by men who have been in prison who came out. How do they get straight with themselves so they can become better fathers? We had 20 different workshops, amazing education. I'm really hoping that in 2025, 2026, we can bring all this important content about who we need to be as fathers, and who we need to be as families. It's so important for women to also understand, because I think from the 1960s we've had a change in the empowerment of women, which was incredibly important and necessary. But it's reached a point now where so many women feel that they're the only ones who understand what children need, and they become an obstacle to their husbands providing the engagement with children that a father brings that's different from the mother. And that causes a frustration in fathers when they're trying to relate to their children, and the child's mother is constantly stopping them and telling them not to do what they feel natural to do in engaging with their children. So there needs to be an understanding of fatherhood and the role that we play by everyone, by mothers, fathers, boys and girls, grandparents, aunts and uncles. We all need to understand that the father plays a very important, critical role in developing empathy in our children. That's something that comes more from the father than from the mother. We need to have a vision for what kind of families we want to have. So we celebrate we celebrate fatherhood as well as, discuss the things that prevent us from being the fathers we want to be and that our children need us to be. So it's important to do both. We need both an elevation where we're celebrating fatherhood, and at the same time realizing that as fathers we carry a very heavy responsibility too, and that there are consequences to how we treat our children. That our children are always finding meaning in what happens to them. That's how our human brains work. We look for meaning. We get inspired by the meaning and significance of things. So for children, they have very limited understanding. They have very limited life experience. And yet, they're deciding what something means. So when the father is insensitive to his child, when he disregards his feelings, that has a particular meaning to that child. It means my feelings don't matter, or it means that being a man is being uncaring of children. So children learn from imitation. They see what they see, and then they feel that this is the important thing for me to learn and for me to do. I need to become like my father. Fortunately, as we grow older, many boys start to realize that this was not a good thing, and that they learn how not to be from the poor example of their father. But increasingly, we need to really show a positive role, a positive example of what being a man and what being a father should be for children. So I'm really grateful that you're gathering in Uganda. I'm hoping that I can come to Uganda as soon as possible. I want to meet you all and share more of this heart for how we are going to make our homes and our communities, our countries, healthier places with children who are resilient and enthusiastic about the possibilities of their lives. We're seeing way too much waste of the human potential that God has given us by not really nurturing our families, not strengthening our families, by husbands not being the support for their wives that they need to be, and then consequently not finding happiness within their marriages. It's a two-way street. The husband provides something to the wife provides something to the husband, and then the two together provide the healthiest, warmest, most protective and stimulating environment for children to grow into thriving human beings. Again, I thank Ivan for taking leadership in Uganda, and I'm grateful to all of you for taking fatherhood seriously. It's one of the critical issues of our time, of this generation, and of our world today. So I thank you very much, and I look forward to meeting you when I can get to Uganda and see you there. Thank you again, and God bless you all in your pursuit of parenting and raising children who are thriving and healthy and significant in our world. Thank you so much.